Luka Dončić has become one of the toughest players to defend in the NBA, and some would argue he's among the most unstoppable scorers the league has ever seen. With a rare mix of size, skill, and basketball IQ, he constantly puts opposing defenses in impossible situations. Over his career, Luka has averaged around 29 points per game in the regular season and about 31 in the playoffs. And he recently captured a scoring title after putting up nearly 34 points per game during the 2023-24 season. Numbers like that make one thing clear. Very few teams have truly found a reliable way to slow him down. But interestingly, LeBron James, one of the greatest players in NBA history, may have offered insight into the challenge of guarding the Slovenian superstar. LeBron understands the situation well because the two share many similarities. Both are tall playmakers with elite court vision, exceptional passing ability, and a deep understanding of the game. Luka himself has admitted he looked up to LeBron while growing up, and like LeBron, he often faces defenses completely focused on stopping him. To understand why Luka is so difficult to guard, you first have to look at what makes him unique. Standing at 6'7", he has the size of a small forward but the skills of a point guard, which creates major mismatches. Smaller guards struggle to defend him because he can simply overpower them in the post, while bigger defenders often can't keep up with his ball handling and footwork. Even though Luka isn't known for elite speed, his incredible balance, patience, and crafty movement allow him to control the pace of the game. He can back defenders down for hook shots or layups, create space in the mid-range for a fadeaway, or rise up and shoot over smaller players with ease. His ability to stop on a dime for a pull-up jumper makes his drives extremely dangerous as, well, for years, some teams try to live with Luka shooting from deep since he averaged around 33% from three during the first 5 seasons of his career. But in the 2023-24 season, he improved that number to about 38%, forcing defenses to respect his step-back three and making it nearly impossible to go under screens during pick-and-roll plays. With scoring at every level and playmaking that punishes double teams, Luka Dončić continues to prove why guarding him is one of the most difficult tasks in basketball. Luka Dončić's scoring efficiency has improved so much that defenses can no longer rely on forcing him into tough shots. If he can score from almost anywhere on the floor and create his own looks whenever he wants, the obvious strategy might seem like double-teaming him and forcing the ball out of his hands. But that approach comes with a huge risk because Luka isn't just an elite scorer. He's also an elite playmaker. That combination is what makes him so dangerous. The moment a second defender comes his way, Luka calmly reads the floor and finds the open teammate, whether it's a shooter waiting for a clean three or a cutter heading straight to the rim for an easy bucket. His basketball IQ and understanding of the game allow him to see plays developing before most defenders even realize what's happening. That ability to stay one step ahead is a major reason why stopping him feels nearly impossible. Ideally, teams would want a defender who can hold his own against Luka in a one-on-one matchup. But the reality is that there's really no such thing as a true Luka stopper. Some players are simply better suited for the challenge than others. Of course, modern basketball rarely comes down to pure isolation for an entire game. Like most superstar guards, Luka frequently uses the pick and roll to hunt mismatches or create more favorable matchups, which means defending him is usually a team effort rather than an individual battle. Still, throughout his career, there have been moments that reveal the type of defender who can at least slow him down. For example, Luka has faced the Los Angeles Clippers 3 times in the playoffs, going up against strong defenders like Patrick Beverley, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. On paper, that trio seemed like a nightmare matchup, but Luka still managed to dominate, averaging 31, 36, and 30 points across those series. However, the 2024 playoffs revealed something interesting during the Dallas Mavericks matchup with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Even though Luka was dealing with injuries at times, the series showed that a certain type of defender can make things more difficult for him. In that matchup, Luka averaged 24 points per game, the lowest average he has posted in any playoff series, and he had 3 games where he struggled to score more than 22 points on poor efficiency. The player responsible for giving him the most trouble was Lou Dort. Dort has never been named to an all-defensive team, but for stretches of that series, he looked like one of the few players capable of truly challenging Luka in one-on-one situations. While Dallas eventually won the series and Luka closed it out with two strong performances, Dort's defensive effort stood out. One key reason is that Dort has a similar physical build to Luka. He may not be the tallest or the quickest player on the court, but he has enough strength and size to match up with him. That makes it harder for Luka to simply shoot over him or bully him in the post. And Dort also showed impressive effort when fighting through screens, staying attached to Luka and disrupting his rhythm more than most defenders have managed to do. Guarding Luka Dončić has proven to be one of the hardest challenges in basketball, and even the best defenders often struggle to slow him down. During the playoff series against Oklahoma City, Dort made life unusually difficult for Luka, forcing him into some uncomfortable shots and limiting his rhythm at times. Luka himself once called Dort a top 3 defender in the NBA back in 2022, and that respect was clearly visible in how competitive their matchup became. In the following series, Luka was guarded by Jaden McDaniels, an all-defensive second-team wing known for his versatility and ability to defend multiple positions. While McDaniels is taller, he lacks the same physical strength as Dort, and that difference matters because Luka isn't bothered as much by length as he is by physicality. Players who can match his strength tend to challenge him more effectively. Even someone like Jrue Holiday, who is smaller than Luka, managed to hold his ground during the 2024 finals because he plays extremely physical defense and is comfortable guarding bigger players. Still, the reality is that even the best individual defenders can't completely stop Luka across a full 7-game series. The bigger challenge comes from defending the pick and roll, which is the play Luka uses most often to control the game. It's one of the simplest actions in basketball, yet it's also one of the most effective, especially in today's NBA. Most of the time, Luka runs this play with his center, either Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford, which forces the opposing center into the action. That usually creates a mismatch because big men are pulled away from the paint and forced to defend Luka on the perimeter, something that puts them in a very uncomfortable position. The truth is there is no perfect solution for stopping Luka in these situations. Otherwise, he wouldn't be putting up massive scoring numbers every season or even dropping historic performances like his 70-point game. Whenever Luka runs the pick and roll, the defense is immediately under pressure. One common strategy is called drop coverage, where the opposing center, like Rudy Gobert during the Wolves series, stays closer to the basket instead of stepping up toward Luka after the screen. This leaves Luka with space to operate while the defender chasing him tries to fight through the screen. At first glance, that seems risky because giving one of the most skilled offensive players in the league extra space sounds like a terrible idea, especially when Luka has so many weapons like the mid-range jumper, floater, and post moves. But stepping up aggressively creates another huge problem. If the center leaves the rim to challenge Luka, players like Lively or Gafford become wide open for easy alley-oop dunks. Before the 2024 finals even started, the Mavericks had already thrown down 54 alley-oop dunks during the playoffs, while the other 15 teams combined had just 59. The next closest team, the Nuggets, only had 9. In fact, 3 Mavericks players, Lively, Gafford, and Derrick Jones Jr., each had at least 10 alley-oop dunks on their own, showing just how dangerous those lob plays were. With a passer like Luka, those lobs are almost guaranteed points because he rarely misses the opportunity. Defenses might try rotating another player to cover the rolling center while the big man steps up on Luka, but that strategy creates yet another issue. Someone ends up open on the perimeter. Against most players, that might work because they may hesitate or miss the read, but Luka thrives in those situations. His vision allows him to instantly find the open shooter, turning the defense's adjustment into an open three-point shot instead of a dunk. At that point, teams are left wondering which is worse, giving up easy dunks at the rim or open threes on the outside. It's a constant dilemma, and even then it might still be the best possible outcome. When LeBron James was asked about the most effective way to defend Luka Dončić in the pick and roll, he offered an interesting perspective on the strategy teams should consider.
Not switching. Because they don't run many small pick and rolls. They run a lot of 1-5 pick and rolls, when it comes to, because the 5 is, usually not as mobile or whatever, not as agile. So they try to bring the 5 up, and they have those 2 lob threats, which Luka loves. So I know that switching is not it. We saw that at the end of game 2.
It's becoming increasingly clear that switching a pick and roll involving Luka Dončić is usually a bad idea, with only a few rare exceptions that we'll get to shortly. If you need proof, just look at Luka's game-winning shot against the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. That play perfectly showed why switching on a Luka pick and roll can be so dangerous. In most cases, the action involves a center setting the screen, and once the defense switches, that big man suddenly finds himself guarding Luka one-on-one on the perimeter. For most centers, that's a nightmare scenario. They simply don't have the quickness or agility to stay in front of him that far from the basket. Luka can easily shake them with his footwork and step back for a 3, or blow past them and drive straight to the rim while the paint